I guess to pre-frame this, I wanted you guys to hear the accountability conversation first, because in large part it is your responsibility to lead being accountable and holding everyone else accountable. You guys, okay? Well, look at that. That slide correlates perfectly with what I just said.
Well, yeah, because that's the whole purpose of what I did.
I just want to make sure that we take ownership of everything that's going on in our schools and we attack hitting those goals as effectively as we possibly can. So, setting clear expectations. This is the core of accountability, right? If we know what we're accountable for, it's a lot easier to rise to that occasion. If it's ambiguous, if it's difficult, it's hard to understand. So, please be crystal clear about the results you're looking for, how they will be measured, and the steps to be taken to achieve them. So if it's someone wants a promotion in your school, let's set very clear expectations about what is expected for them to achieve that objective. If it's, I want to get A, B, or C, how do we earn that? What do you have to do going forward? And I would like to work on these conversations not being vague. So we need to make every conversation a two-way street. The more ideas and strategies that come from your employees, the better. Your role is to facilitate their efforts, keep everyone moving towards the same business goal, and check in regularly to keep things on track. We're going to work on active listening. You're still in charge of expectations being met, but as work progresses, keeping an open mind to suggestions, ideas, and any changes that need to be made is super critical. I don't know everything. Jennifer doesn't know everything. Heidi doesn't know everything. You guys have brilliant ideas. You have fantastic ideas. We want to hear those. Please foster the same environment in your schools so that your team feels like they're heard. Agree on SMART targets. We've been over this before. What is a SMART target?
Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound.
Okay. You can read. Excellent. During expectation conversations, set mutually agreed upon goals.
I like that mutual part.
Mutual, right? And so if it's someone who thinks they're ready to be a senior 3 tomorrow, and you think they're only a senior 1, and we need to come to a point where we understand why everyone feels the way they feel and what we need to do moving forward, right? If any of these targets, this I think is the most important part of this, if any of these targets start to slip, jump on it promptly. We can talk about numbers, right? When you're getting behind on your numbers for the month, what do we need to do?
Fix it swiftly.
Start adjusting, make adjustments.
Right.
If it's, hey, April's not going well, and we look and go, hey, you've only been able to do a total of 60 phone calls in all of April, what might be the problem? We're not hitting the phone call numbers we need to get a hold of the people who need to be gotten a hold of, right? So I want you guys as a team to work on brainstorming solutions, listening to each other's suggestions, being open to lower level, not younger necessarily, but lower level people being willing to step up or find a different solution. Yeah.
One activity that we did as a management team that I think would be really cool for everyone to do is we started with a question of what are we most afraid of doing or what is holding us back? And then the second question that we asked was, if we knew we couldn't fail, what would we be doing right now? Right? And that brought up some very interesting things of like, well, if I knew I wouldn't fail, I would call every single lead on this entire list. I would invite everyone to Legacy. I'd call everybody for renewal. And then we went, okay, that's what we got to do today. Go. It was awesome.
It makes a ton of sense. So,
sorry.
It was awesome.
And that's the whole point of this, right? Is being accountable isn't just being the one who has to go and do everything. It also isn't the one who means you get to tell everyone what to do necessarily. Having the group come up with the solutions gives you instant buy-in for those solutions. If it's their idea, they're definitely on the hook for putting that into action, right? Any other comments on this? No, I'm melting your brain already.
Would you like us, if we do have a comment, to get the microphone first?
Yeah, let's try that. I do want to record these. Okay, provide the resources people need. As you consider how to hold your employees accountable, remember, in order to succeed, people need the right capabilities and resources. For example, what skills are required in order for an employee to meet expectations? This is a huge part of why we have readjusted the pathways to success, because we have been setting many of you and many of your coworkers up for failure in that we have not provided the training, the coaching, and the framework, the SOPs, to be prepared to do the jobs we were expecting you to do. And that's why we have made adjustments and are going to make adjustments to the training going forward. What about other resources? If a person doesn't have what's necessary to get the job done, what is the plan? So you want a person to learn how to go to the elementary schools. Do you just send them to the elementary schools? No, it doesn't work, right? Please don't. If you want to send them to the elementary schools, what is the order of operations for getting them the knowledge to do that?
You gotta see it 5 times, do it 5 times, watch somebody else or watch someone do it, it
watch
yourself,
someone
have
else,
them watch you.
do it with them, do it while you just kind of get supervised,
And then do it
then
yourself.
do it yourself, and then really
And then
teach
teach
someone
it to
else how to
someone.
do it. And we're going to go over this a lot tomorrow. That's going to come up several times in the different discussions, that reps matter. And, I expect you to be able to do something after you've seen it, tried it, gotten feedback, and done it, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean you've mastered that. And that's okay. I don't expect you guys to be masters of what you're doing, but I do expect that we're working with each other. And so if it's something like, for example, Lorraine maybe has only done a couple of times, it's totally fair for you to reach out to someone who has done it more than you have, who has more reps, who has more experience, to either get feedback about how you did it or have them do it with you. Does that make sense what I'm going for here? I want you guys to be the resource that each other needs when necessary to help them get it done.
Braxton, you had a comment?
I was just going to say that in between those five, that role plays are also extremely helpful in between the 5 real ones, that there should be
Absolutely.
plenty of
And
practice ones that also happen.
I agree. And when Mr. Metzger said, you guys are all babies, if you really think about it, we haven't been doing this long in all reality. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. I don't know. This is going to blend into 5 other conversations. Any other comments about resources? Because how can we hold someone accountable for getting something done if they only have a vague concept of how to do that? Or they've seen it twice, or they did it one time. That's not successful. We had that problem with one of the employees we just recently let go. It was, I'm good. I've done it a couple times. Are you really good? We're gonna circle back to, what do the results say? Are you actually really good, or are you still struggling? Are the numbers showing that you're actually really good? Does that make sense? And so we also need to track what's going on to be able to understand where someone is really at. If we let someone do 10 enrollment conferences, and out of 10 enrollment conferences, they only get 1 person to commit to a trial, there's probably a problem in that process. They probably don't understand what they need to do, right? I would like you guys to please keep open lines of communication. We can't figure out what the problems are like you guys can. We're not there every day. We don't see something and go, that was weird, because we're just not there. You guys are there every day. I also want you to be more forthright about telling someone when there is a problem sooner rather than later. So if you see something that needs fixing, if it was me, I would want to know immediately, so I don't go do the same incorrect thing 7 more times before I get told, right? Or so you don't get frustrated that it didn't happen the right way. So keeping communication lines open is super important. Effective communication flows both ways. Are we delivering on our commitments? Are we working well with the other stakeholders? Meaning, is your program director doing what you need as a head instructor? Is your head instructor doing what you need as a program director? And are you communicating about how we could improve both the relationship and the effort to get the results that we want? Because both of those things need to be discussed. All right, we're going to stay here for a minute. So this is the things we're going to work on doing and systemizing and understanding how to do more effectively. End of shift reports. Why do we have end of shift reports? And why would we consider an end of shift report an accountability tool?
We get a lot of our numbers on what we do for
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah, how do you know if a junior, level 1 assistant instructor is doing their job?
Watching them or looking at their end of shift.
Okay, so if their end of shift report says 0 awesome calls, 0 awesome calls, 0 awesome calls, 0 day after day after day, it says 0 awesome calls. What do they clearly not know how to do or haven't been trained on, or so on and so forth? And awesome calls, right? There's a lot of data that you can get from the end of shift reports, and we can tweak these whenever we want. So I would like you guys, someone in every school, just to peek for 60 seconds at your end of shift reports. I also think we should add, I don't even know if it might already be in there, but I also think we should add is there anything you think we need to know question at the end of the shift? You might get some really valuable information.
Like that. There's is there any issues that you'd like to bring up or something?
But what if it was, hey, I talked to Timmy's dad today, and he said Timmy's been working really hard and they're really excited. Well, what if we add Timmy to the upgrade list? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know what's going on.
So here's a question. Who knows where to find the end of shift reports?
Data. Who knows where to find the data?
Not your manager personal ones, but every employee's
How
end
could
of
you
shift
pull up
report.
your school's end of shift? See, that's what I wanted to know. So
I don't have to know. That's because I report it every week. I don't know.
It is
So-
actually still living in the old drive.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've never looked.
okay, but I want to work on using the end of shift report
I haven't
as
moved it
a
because
data collection device.
they all still have their original links, and that's why it hasn't migrated, because I don't want to break their actual filling out of their end of shift reports.
Okay, because that's going to be a whole deal, huh?
Yeah, because we've got some of them in that. So it's the only thing really active that's living in the old drive, and it's going to stay there for a
Okay.
hot minute.
Until we get
Until we-
brave.
Yep.
Okay.
New people in the new drive.
Nope, they're still in the old drive.
Do you see how powerful this could be, though? You could get information about your customers. You could clearly get information about how well trained or effective they are at what they do, because the other end of shift reports move up into the, did you do an intro today? How did it go? Did you enroll? And they get points and they make money. And that's one of the things that a lot of them have given up doing for some reason or another. I don't know if we're not highlighting it enough, but I think there's a lot of power in the end of shift reports that we're not, utilizing is a accountability thing, because we can also, like we've talked before about, pull up the end of shift reports when someone's like, I want a raise. I think I really deserve a raise. Well, if they haven't filled out their end of shift report and they haven't done their awesome calls and they haven't done any intros, why would we give them a raise if their job position indicates that they should be doing those things? See what I'm saying? There's a built-in raise there by just doing what you're supposed to do for the level you're currently at. And I want to hold them accountable for doing the things that they're supposed to do every day, because it doesn't get easier for them as they become a senior 3 or an assistant manager. There's just more weight to what goes on. And so I want to start using this better to call them out more frequently. Hey, you didn't fill out your end of shift report. You're missing out on opportunities to make money. And I don't want you to come at your quarterly review and tell me I need a huge raise when you're leaving $40 a paycheck on the table. Does that make sense?
Are the end of shift reports something that we could add to training?
Quite possibly. I don't know if that's the right place to keep it forever, but I think a migration and modification is in order for the end of shift reports. And I want you guys' help with that so that you get what you want from your team. What questions do you want to ask them? What information do you want to collect from them? What data would be productive for you at a glance to go, these 5 people say, hey, 3 of them said the same thing. We better work on that. Does that make sense? So I think this is a huge deal, and we're actually going to implement this at the construction company too, because I need to hold my team at the construction company more accountable. It's been difficult to keep track of them when I go do karate. I walk back and they've burned a hole in the side of my shop because it was easier than cutting it with the saw, and now I have a hole. Things, yeah, just
That's so cool. Not for you, but that was awesome. That's
So I'm really excited about the end of shift reports. I just don't understand why we don't get any traction with them for more than a week or two before we taper back off.
Just to the mic, please. Well, it's not a habit, and we haven't done a good job of holding our team accountable to do it. Because I mean, it's great. They're like for Tanner and Michael one time, it was like I reminded them, fill out your stupid end of shift report, dang it, because they signed up 13 kids in one day at a mass enrollment, and they're like, this is great. And then the next week, even after making like $100 bonus, they didn't even fill it out. And I was like, guys, what happened?
I know.
It's
I don't
not their
understand
fault because I didn't remind them to do it. So we need to
Yes
just be
and no,
on
but
top
they-
of reminding them.
They also need to be accountable for themselves. Like
I'm
that's why
trying to do that extreme ownership.
I know.
thing.
I heard you, but I just want them to understand that this is the path to showing consistency, to showing that you're going to do what you say you're going to do over time. So we're going to cover end of shift reports. We're going to do a training on end of shift reports here in probably 3 or 4 weeks in the management training, once we have revamped them and tweaked them. So I want you thinking about it, because we're going to have a discussion, and I want information from you guys about what you want included and what you would, what you can get out of it. Okay. One-on-ones. Tell me about one-on-ones. Why on earth do we even do one-on-ones? What is the point? What is it?
Communication, so we can communicate with one another.
Okay. Why? Right. Okay. So if you had to pick, like, summarize the objective of a one-on-one in one sentence.
To check in on what's going on, like hold them accountable.
Okay. So check in, hold them accountable. What do you think?
Sometimes it's to receive new information or to find out better ways to do something.
Yeah. So I guess in my mind, I see like this path of a mountain, right? And that's the pathways to success thing. And along the way, each different section of the path is basically the job description of wherever you are walking. And I really want to know, where in your little job description are you at? Are you barely started on this whole new list of things? Or are you right at the end, and we need to think about what the transition from senior 2 to senior 3 would look like for you? Like, that's what, to me, a one-on-one is. It's how good are you at all these things? What do your numbers say? What do I feel like you're doing? What do you feel like you're doing? And where are you? And let's take where we're at and find out what the next 4 steps up that mountain are for you, and make sure that you have the tools, the resources, the training that you need, and the opportunities to apply that. That's, to me, what a one-on-one should be. Is that fair? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and just to add on, it's also for the employee to keep the manager accountable as well. Because there's been a lot of times where I'm checking on you, how is everything? And it's like, I'm doing my part, but I need a lot more assistance from what you said you were going to do for me. You've
And I
given
love
me
that.
this new task, but you haven't given me the tools.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're doing this one-on-ones now. We can.
I love that. The next 2 steps have disappeared off my path because you aren't there to lay down the framework for me to be able to do those. That's absolutely fair.
Yeah, so a lot of them, you guys have a little bit more informal ones because we do them so frequently, but it is that opportunity to have the communication with the employee. That communication is a 2-way street. Here's all of my feedback for you. Now, what feedback do you have for me? Where we are, how can I better support you? And you hear me ask that question
I love
virtually every week, but it gives you that opportunity to ask for things that you need when I'm in a position to actually be ready to receive that.
Not necessarily the purpose of one-on-ones, but just a good reminder is we do this whole goal setting chat with them during quarterly reviews. And then a lot of times that gets lost in the, whoa, we're working and you're only here for like 3 hours and then you're gone. And then I've been on the mat the entire time you're here. And that check-in on how they're doing on their goals is missing, not just on the business side, but how are things going personally, or how are things going financially for you?
Have you read their PPF
their PPF
right?
goals,
And
right?
you talked about it.
And being able to cover that on a monthly basis,
I think would be really powerful, because that not only is going to help them move forward in the company, but it's also going to show that we care. And we talk about it with the students all the time. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I feel like the same thing applies to our team as well.
I agree. So a couple comments, because I think this is the first thing we're going to do training on next Thursday is one-on-ones. I think we should have them bring their job description with them, or you pull it out. I think they should bring their PPFs, and I think you should pull up these are the 3 things that we're supposedly working on leveling up.
Those will actually be able to be found by Thursday.
And I think we should systemize having that somewhere very convenient so you guys can pull it up, and every one-on-one has a formula, which we're going to write on Thursday, or we'll write a skeleton and you guys can add to on Thursday. But I want this to be something that's systemized so that when they sit down with you, they feel heard. They feel like you care about where they're going. You care that there are problems that they're stuck on, that you understand where they're coming from, and they feel like they can give you feedback. I think that would be an insanely powerful tool to help everyone move forward much, much faster. Tanner Bat is like my example. He just floated around for like 2.5 years, and then all of a sudden, poof, has decided to magically kick butt. And imagine what Tanner would have been like if he'd had a one-on-one and we were like pushing to help him accomplish those goals for the last 2.5 years. He could already be a senior instructor.
And a part of the consistent one-on-ones is that you're going to be held accountable. A really good example
coming up
is Whitney. She was like, hey, you asked me to do this thing and I completely forgot about it. You talked to me about it in our one-on-one and I didn't have an answer for you. I've been thinking about it all week and I've been working towards what you asked me to do. And so for our next one-on-one, it was really powerful because she knew I was checking up on her and I was keeping her accountable because of the one-on-one.
And vice versa, and that being that two-way street. So I think one-on-ones are the first thing I want to systemize, because I think those will have the largest impact on them on a personal level and on a personal training level is the one-on-ones, because then you know, and I don't think they necessarily need to just be monthly. If you have one of the smaller teams, I think for a while it might be helpful to have them for 15 minutes twice a month until you get in the groove of checking in with each other. But we can debate that one later. Any other comments about one-on-ones? Okay, this is, to me, like you said, the biggest way for them to hold us as management responsible for the providing the resources that they need.
I guess the only thing I would ask, finishing this up, is what changes would you guys like in the structure to one-on-ones, since you guys are actually getting them on a relatively consistent basis?
I think one thing that would be extremely helpful is checking in on not just work goals, but just like how life is going in general. Not that I need like a therapist and be like, woe is me, here's all my problems. But just like, hey, how's that thing going that you were wanting to do? Or I know you're saving up towards this, how's that going? Yep. And helping me be responsible in all areas of my life and being like, well, you know what? I haven't been working on that. Thanks for the reminder, and taking the one-on-ones beyond just works. I mean, keep it professional, but it doesn't have to be only work stuff, I think. All the time.
For sure.
I would also like access on previous one-on-ones because you have us fill out the form. But I'll be honest with you, the week goes by and I'm like, I have no idea what I did last week. Yeah. I need to fill out my form. I'm just going to put things on, having a more able to keep track so I can keep myself accountable a little bit better. And then also you can keep me accountable.
So what you're saying is like the managers and the employee would have visual access at any time to look over what their goal things are.
Yeah, you guys do.
Okay.
You guys sort of do, but let's make it so it's super available. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, just something like you can pull up mid-meeting. Like, let's pull up what we did last week. So that way, instead of having to remember.
Yeah, and you could pull it up as the manager 5 minutes before you have the meeting and read what went on so you don't sound like a soulless monster when you have no clue what you talked about last week.
It lives in a spreadsheet, and so that I do. And
okay, so
yes, I'll show you
this will go into the training on one-on-ones. Okay, how about the midweek check-in? What's the point?
Is this the Wednesday one?
This is the Wednesday check-in.
To see where our metrics are at, and what goals we did over the weekend.
Okay. Does this function as it should? Where we're trying to make changes to it, but I still don't think we've achieved what the goal of the midweek check-in is.
I think we've gotten a lot better because for a while there, it was just like a repeat of the Monday and there wasn't really much different, or we'd just be like, hey, let's sit and talk for 30 minutes. And now it's more of a, hey, here's what your numbers are at. And we have the little spreadsheet that gets printed out of this is where you're at right now. This is the goal. What's your game plan to get there? Do you need any additional support to get there? I think for me personally, it would be nice to kind of get called out more and be like, dude, you said you were going to do this last week and you didn't. Why not? And
Okay.
not in a, I like being called out, but in a, I think that would help me be more accountable. Cause I mean, I'm trying my best, but getting a little bit of heat, pressure makes diamonds.
Does that freak
Get
anyone
out there
else
and
out?
get some.
If it was like, hey,
That's why you don't get yelled at. We'll yell at Brandon.
Yeah, and just like having that be a healthy culture, because there have been times where managers haven't been held accountable, and then I've seen other managers get frustrated because, hey, I'm busting all of these numbers out and I'm doing the good results, but there's this manager next to me who's not reaching those same results and they're not getting any attention. And that's kind of like frustrating for the team as a whole versus like, hey, you're not doing your job. Let's help you do your job. And that way everyone knows we're going to be held accountable no matter what.
okay, so are you okay with, for example, put the numbers up and it's like, Bountiful, you have 0 enrollments this week, and I see you only made 12 phone calls. What's going on? That's okay? Like, you're going to be okay?
I mean, we already do that.
I'm crying myself.
And when something's not right, it's like, what's up and how are you gonna fix it? We already asked that question.
Okay, and that's,
I think
Does-
more heat would be good though.
okay.
And more direct rather than a broad statement like, hey, as a company, we've noticed. Something like that.
I just always hesitate to do that in front of a group. I am happy to do so, but I don't be like,
I
Lorraine,
think amongst
what the crap?
managers,
can we,
we're at a we can't handle that.
okay.
I think because we're all
For the
here,
most part,
the
yeah.
same expectation of
Mm.
we care about you enough to give you the direct feedback, so don't take it personal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's good for us, right?
Okay, so if I'm like, Nate, you said you wanted 4 upgrades this week and you got 0 and it's Wednesday.
Just throw them on. I don't think.
I just don't want to be an ass, I guess is what I'm saying. But I agree with you. I prefer when someone says, hey, you told me you'd do A, B, and C. You only did A. What happened to B and C? You're right. Crap. She bugs me all the time. She bugs me all the time to keep track of what I don't do. That dang piece of mat hasn't been cut yet. I'm okay with it. That doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Are we okay if I or Jennifer or Heidi says, guys, like you said, you make $7,800 this week. It's Wednesday and you're at $1,200. Like, this is going to impact your pay. I don't want that to happen. What are we going to do to solve that problem over the next 3 days?
So
I don't think I think I personally respond better to the, all right, this is how it's going, how are you gonna fix it, and less like, you stupid person. I can't take it. It's just like, as soon as you say that to me, I'm gonna start back at you. So like,
I think
Well, I'm not going to make it personal, but
I think it would be good.
Because we have the,
she's next. Continue.
I think it would be good because we have the person that the buck falls on and that person gets yelled at, and then not necessarily yelled at, but like, dude, what the heck? And then the rest of the team is like, okay, how are we going to fix the problem? But the heat comes down on like one person. And as long as that designated person at the school is okay with that, then like, yell at me, don't yell at Ashlyn, but Ashlyn will fix the problem.
I mean, you can yell at me, I can take it. It's just like I might also.
Okay, Heidi.
So I got mad at the whole group last year and I got chewed out by 3 different people after the fact.
Yeah,
And
I
I
wouldn't even
didn't
say it was
think that it
mad. I
was-
just think you directly
I-
pointed out what was not going
That
on.
I had done, they had asked me for help. Everyone said, I need you to help us with the schools. I specifically went into each individual school, except for McKay. I just talked to him on the phone. But I made the effort, and then they dropped it, and then they got mad at me for
When she
being
called them
upset.
out. None of those particular individuals
Are still with us.
are still with us, and that's.
But I need to know, like,
But-
can I be direct
but,
like that?
Yeah. So what we're saying is, to be honest, we're like preconditioned right now to walk on eggshells about this kind of crap, because then people get butthurt and have panic attacks and like nervous breakdowns because I said you're not doing what I expect you to do, and then they go lose sleep for 5 days about it. And
I don't yell usually. I really don't. But when I work that hard,
okay,
that's when I get upset.
I would like to be able to say, here are the numbers, plain and simple. You're not 50% of the way to where you wanted to be or more. That is a problem, because at the end of the day, we are results-oriented people, and I expect a result because that's what we agreed to do. And my pay and your pay all hinges on the result happening. Is that fair? Mm-hmm. And I want what's best for everybody, and that is for us to hit our metrics.
I know we always talk about our wins all the time. Oh, we won this, we did this. And we had brought it up earlier about, well, why don't we talk about our loses for the day? Or
Yeah, what did you fail to do today?
Because we're building up we did great. And I think that's where Clinton fell into their weirdness, is because we're doing great.
But we
were never held accountable for we fell short that week for this,
Okay.
And a part of the accountability, it's like a chain back and forth. Because if you say, Brandon, your numbers aren't getting hit, what's going on? I say, I've done everything you've asked me to. I've done my calls. I've done my upgrade conferences. I'm not sure what to do. Then it's like, how can you help me?
Now we need to step in. For
and
sure.
now I'm holding you accountable. But if we never start from the beginning, it's like if I wasn't making my calls, we don't get to fix that problem. But if you hold me accountable and it's like, oh, I'm not making my calls, perfect, we fix it from the get-go. And if it's not, we need to make sure we also don't take it personal. And it's, how is your school performing? Because if you take it personal, it's going to come out personal. But if you're like, I am doing what the goal was set as a school, how we're performing, I think we'll be fine.
Okay. All right. That's a meeting I would like to work on attending more so I can practice holding people more accountable.
And one more question for you guys. We talk a lot about the money, and I did get some feedback recently that, well, we need to talk less about the money and it's all about teaching awesome karate. But we all understand here why talking about the money and the revenue is important.
Does anyone have a concern or a question about the money portion of this business? Why do I talk about the money and the numbers so frequently?
Because we can't do the business. I can't pay you guys. The money's not.
I like to eat.
Okay.
You didn't get paid. You want to drive your students to be good martial artists, make them want to upgrade. So if you're like, man, I want to help this kid upgrade, and it's like, well, if I help this kid upgrade, then I'm gonna get paid because I helped him. And so it's like,
And he gets a better result because he gets to spend more time doing karate.
Yeah.
I mean,
Daniel.
we also wouldn't be in the room where everything gets talked about if the result, which is the monetary amount, isn't being handled.
Yeah. Do you guys like playing games?
Yeah.
Do you like playing games that have no score?
No.
I see where we're at.
I do sometimes.
Pokemon doesn't have a score.
It kind of does.
But it has shiny Pokemons and I need
I'm saying,
them.
though, the point I'm trying to make, in business, what is the only way to keep score?
Money.
Are you profitable? And why is that the result that we want? Because that means I get to pay you and 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 you, and you get to go home and eat.
And we get to create new opportunities.
And we create opportunities for everyone else. And so
Having more money means that I can pay staff and train you better, and we are better than any of our competitors because you guys want to do this as a career. It's not just like
and
after school.
exactly. And the
16-year-old job.
final thing to me is how does society measure value?
Net worth.
How much are they willing to pay for something expresses its value, right? You don't go buy a Volkswagen for the same cost as a Lamborghini. There's a different value proposition there, right? A Toyota costs less than a Lexus. They're made by the same company. Half the time they share 90% of the same parts, but there's clearly a different value. So we want to have a high value company, which means we are delivering a high value product to our customer that is very desirable. Otherwise, we're failing our customer, right? I can teach $50 a month karate, but here's the crazy thing. Your quit rate is the same or worse. Your attendance is the same or worse.
You've done it.
Your enrollment for activities is probably worse. It doesn't, I want to be a high value company. I want to give our customers a lot of benefit, and in return, I want them to be totally happy to pay us a high dollar amount. So the money concern that, well, why don't we just worry about teaching good martial arts? That's great. But I would like to be paid as if we provide a good service, right?
Well, and I think about like some of our school programs too. Like when you talk about doing a Title I school, and they can change how much money they want to be allowed, but it's better to do it for like $5 than $0 because there's some monetary value there.
They're committing
giving
something,
them a commitment, right? And so,
and our team needs to be committed in the same way. And I understand that everyone doesn't have the same upbringing, and money means different things to everybody, and money is a very touchy subject. But at the same time, you're going to go into the workforce, and at some point you have to understand that if you don't bring value to your company and you don't give some kind of value to your customer, you become a terrible employee. And so you have to deliver value. And that's what the midweek check-in is all about is, okay, there's a problem and we see it now. This is the third week that the same problem has occurred. So are we delivering the value to our customer that is necessary for them to want to respond with valuing that in dollars? And that's why we check in monetary numbers a lot of times, because it honestly is the easiest way to track the value that you are clearly giving to your customer or the lack thereof. Is that fair? Mm-hmm. And I think I agree with you. I would like the midweek check-in to be a little more, what is going on? Why isn't this working? Okay, you have 6 other managers here. Let's help you pick a solution that we think is actionable based on the data. Okay, this seems to be your problem. Now let's talk as a group and find a solution to fix the problem. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. And I would like that 30 minutes to be, I don't want to say brutal, but I don't want it to be fluffy sunshine and rainbows. To be honest, that is a problem-solving session. So even if you're at your number, if you say, yeah, but I'm out of appointments for the rest of the week. We did everything we had planned and I'm not getting any traction on A, B, or C. Maybe one of their managers might go, hey, why don't you switch to do this instead and call these people? Oh, hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to try that. Okay, that's what I want. I want it to be a problem-solving session because I want every week for all 4 schools to hit their monetary goal number every week. Awesome. And I know that's a lofty goal, but we can do it most of the time. And that's what I'm shooting for is let's just get better than where we are at. And if we brainstorm together very efficiently, maybe slightly more brutal than we do, would that improve the accountability as a group for you guys to us and us to you to provide the resources? Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to do a training on that. We're going to write the SOP for that together, and it'll be some kind of a 90 meeting, I think. Can you make your own custom template for a meeting? I want to make a custom template where there's like 6 questions we ask or something. All right. Nightly report to mentor. Why? What is it? Do we do it?
Sometimes I don't, like me personally, I don't have a mentor, or I have a mentee, which is Taylor, and we do it at the end of his shift. But one thing that I just wanted to bring up is I just assigned Tyler to be Jackson's mentor. And Tyler walked him through how to make an awesome call. Yeah. He said, this is where all the cleaning stuff is. This is where we put the trash. This is how the expectation is for cleaning. And I, as the manager, could have spent, I don't know, it was like 45 minutes of like doing that over the space of like 3 shifts. Or we could have had a mentor do that. And the amount of training that gets done and the amount of questions that get answered amongst a team versus one individual just multiplies the, I guess, leverage that we have for the same amount of time. Because if one person is working on 5 tasks in 45 minutes versus 5 people working on 5 tasks in 45 minutes, you get 5 times the work done, sometimes even more than that because you're not bouncing in between, right? So having a mentor that truly understands what they're doing and cares enough about the mentee and about the business to help their mentee level up is going to be something that I think if we implemented it well across the schools could super train people way faster than me trying to work with 10 new hires at the same time could ever do.
Does it really need to be nightly every night?
I think in the beginning.
It's the end of their shift.
Okay, and that's my. Is there some fade out period where all of a sudden it's not every night? I just want to understand the mechanics from you guys' point of view that are trying to do this. Lorraine, whoever.
I think it starts the accountability chain that we're trying to build as a culture, because you're holding a mentor accountable for training someone, and that mentor has to teach that person and give them the tools that we talked about to make sure that they're successful. And if the trainer or the trainer person getting trained has a question, they ask their mentor. If they don't know the answer, they ask you, and it becomes like that. We're all holding each other accountable. So that way it's like hey, I know if I don't know something, I can ask this person and I ask that person. And once that mentor goes away, because eventually we get the skills trained, we have the environment that anyone can ask anyone a question, being like, I don't know what's happening, what's up? And it's just more accountable overall as a team.
If they've just gotten comfortable with being able to ask questions overall because they've had that person to ask questions to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, mine was kind of following somewhere right around that end part where when I first started becoming a manager, it was nice to be able to like, okay, I know I can lean on someone to be like, you understand, like you can help me get through these things. Like sometimes I hold myself too much on some things where I'm like, oh man, I'm doing my job terribly, and I can have that other person on the other side
Say,
being
hey,
like,
you're doing good. That was okay.
It's cool. Like, I got your back. You're good. So that's also was nice too.
Okay. How could we improve just the overall functionality of the nightly reports? This is another one of those things I want you thinking about. Again, this will come up in a Thursday meeting, and I want to improve this system, right? So I just want to have a 30-second, how can we make this more effective? Because this has seemed like one of those things we never really got off the ground. Hope would come home and say, I talked to Whitney because that was who she was mentoring. But now it's like this monotonous thing where we don't even want to do it anymore because we do it every night. We see each other all day, and it just kind of fizzled, I guess is what I'm saying. So I want to make sure that anything on this list is impactful, I guess.
If if you want to like keep track of a nightly mentor, like you could add that to the end of first shift report.
Did you check in with your mentor or your mentee?
They're holding it somewhere. It's more accountable than
okay.
Did you call your mentor and
All right. I think it's a brilliant idea. I just don't think it has been very
Utilized?
Effectively implemented. Yeah, I just don't think. I want like a little Padawan moment for each one of them, where anytime they have a question or they feel like they did a bad thing or whatever, they have that person to go talk to. It's not going to be judgmental at all, because that's the mentor, right? It's okay. We all screw up. This is maybe something we could work on. I bet it wasn't as bad as you think. Let's practice it. Let's meet 10 minutes before your shift and we'll practice it 2 or 3 times. That's what I want the mentor to be, the person they can always go to, even when they think they've botched something.
I think it's really helpful for the first month or two where they have a nightly check-in. And then I think the fizzle out period becomes I don't really need this reassurance. I feel like I'm pretty good at my job at this point. I don't need a mentor to check in with me every night. I'm a fully trained level 1 instructor.
Okay, so then they switch to level 2. Do they get another mentoring period of someone checks on them for a whole month?
Of level 3.
Or level 3, or when they switch to senior level 1, or when they switch to assistant manager, or when they switch to manager. You know what I'm saying? Like how, because the level 1 thing I get, but I also feel like trying to become a school manager or trying to become a senior 3 are very large steps. And there's so many details about doing those jobs that I worry that those job positions for you guys need probably as much or more mentoring than hey, you were good, you were nice to that kid, good job. How about, hey, you didn't set the world on fire and none of your employees quit today. Good work. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, I think I want to figure out how to make the mentor a super huge accountability partner at more than one level. I think it works really easily, like you said, for the first month or two, and then it does get kind of weird. It's like, no, dude, shut up! I've been here for 2 months.
Would it be better if you, because like with every level of instructor, you get an added on expectations of like, hey, a level 2 needs to do X, Y, and Z. But I don't have to babysit you every day. If it was like a once a week at some point, or all right, once every 2 weeks when they feel comfortable, and then kind of like set
is
schedule
that
with them.
necessary? Is that necessary, or could it just be a one-on-one? And we just be like, okay, you're in a new
that's what I
job
think it
position.
should turn into.
Because you're in a new job position, your one-on-ones are going to happen every other week. Would that solve that same? Would that create that same mentoring opportunity? Because what I don't want to do is go create 700 additional meetings and phone calls for you guys. If the person on the other end of it is going, this is stupid. We didn't even, like, nothing happened in this. Like, it didn't solve anything for me. And that has been the feedback I've gotten from a couple of people. Is it's been kind of a, no, I'm good.
I think that part of the first step in systemizing this is also making sure like everyone is aware of who is whose mentor. Like it's not in a spreadsheet somewhere readily available that we can see. Like you have to go.
I know. Does it
ask
need to be like a
people.
chart on a wall?
Like I think
Honestly.
honestly something like that could be helpful. You say, oh, and
Because shouldn't everyone have a mentor? For heaven's sakes, Mr. Metzger calls me every other week. Okay, unless he's on a cruise, then it's like every third month when he's on a cruise. But he calls me, and the first question out of his mouth every single time is, talk to me, tell me what your numbers are. Every time, every single time. And I better know my numbers for all 4 schools, where we're at, what we're doing, where we're headed, how many appointments. He grills me. It's metrics based. Can we have a mentoring conversation that is metrics based for a level 2 assistant instructor?
Level 1, did you freaking do your awesome?
did you do your awesome calls? Did you clean?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It holds me massively accountable to go, I know Mr. Metzger's calling me today, so either I got to go pull up the numbers, or if I'm not in a place where I can pull up the numbers, I make her get me the numbers so I can have an informed conversation. And then he'll ask me, okay, what holes need to be plugged? What things aren't working? What are the problems? And that's what we have a conversation about for 30 minutes every time.
And
I think there could be a formula for this, but I just wonder if is the nightly report the right tool, or does it need to be, they're not monthly one-on-ones, they're bi-monthly one-on-ones. Semi-monthly?
No, bi-weekly.
Semi-monthly? Bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly.
Okay, bi-weekly.
I think that like for the most part we kind of fall under this like we take for granted that we kind of know who we're going to talk to about this, right? Like I know who I'm going to bring up what happened with the day and stuff like that. But I think it's not written down somewhere, and if it was for everyone, it would be done
and
better.
Should your mentor not be in your school? Should they be able to have that little bit of distance so they can say, oh, that's really weird. Not, yeah, I saw that. Because then it puts them in the situation instead of, a helpful third party that isn't emotionally attached to said person who's the problem or student who was difficult or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Would that be more healthy? Because I almost think that Mr. Metzger, because he's not living this daily with us, has a different point of view. Yeah, he's much more objective. So I wonder if that because Whitney and Hope were in the same class every single time, of course there wasn't anything to talk about in their one-on-one or what their like nightly conversation. But if it was Whitney calling, Jaden at another school for their check-in, said, how did it go? Tell me about your wins. Tell me about your failures today. What could you have done better? I don't know. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So I don't know. I really want the mentor thing to be more impactful and hold us accountable and push us to be better, not just this weird buddy system that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, and that was my question that I was going to ask is like, what is the goal of the nightly report to the mentor? And once we have a solution for that, then we can kind of brainstorm. Because right now, what I kind of see it as is it's a way that we start our accountability culture for whatever we decide, a month or 2 months, where they get comfortable with that and we can move on and everyone just holds each other accountable? Or is it we're checking on each individual person to make sure that things are going well. Like, what is the goal of being a mentor and the mentorship program kind of thing?
Yeah.
I mean, what if we were to switch mentors every so often, right? Because you talk to the same person so long, and you get the same kind of perspective from someone for so long, and then you switch mentors, you can talk to someone and you get a whole different perspective.
I'm up for trying it, but I think it should be a little more data and metric driven. Is that fair too? Because I don't know how you hold someone accountable when it's all just fluff. How were classes? They were great. Or, oh man, we had this jerk of a kid, punch another kid. Like, that doesn't help us improve their teaching. That doesn't help us improve their ability to make phone calls. That doesn't help them make more of an impact or bring more value to a customer or to the business. And that's what I want to change. So could we, as a management team, engineer metrics for every single level that makes sense to continually report?
Mm-hmm.
Do they, after level 1, need to be reported every single night to a mentor? I mean, if we're talking a senior level 1 is reporting to an assistant manager.
Every single night makes a lot of sense. I mean, even our lower level staff, before they leave, they come in and say, Daniel, what do I need to do?
Some of them are really good at seeking out feedback, and this would just be a formal way of doing that. My concern, though, with the nightly thing is some of our team members love to talk, and if it turns into a 45-minute debate about their emotional state and level of self-worth every single night, that is not
So
productive.
That nightly report does not have to be an actual phone call. It is as simple as the essentially nightly report y'all are finally in the habit of doing.
Yeah.
This is what
So-
we did today. So it's a
what I'm-
text to your mentor.
What I was
did
leading up
5
to
awesome calls.
exactly is, does the mentor need to read the end of shift report for the mentee and call them as necessary if they see a number is not where it should be?
That puts a lot more accountability on the mentor. You can shift the accountability to the mentee for that with as simple as a quick text to them.
They text their number
They text
result
their
just
number
like
result,
the managers do
just
the
like
Slack
the managers
chat.
do in the Slack chat.
I don't care either way. I would not be opposed to the mentor being
And they still
somewhat
fill out the
accountable.
end of shift report. Well, and
But
the mentor should be checking the end of shift report to make sure that those numbers match.
and remember, for most of this, I'm probably not going to let level 2 assistant instructors mentor. It's going to be senior level 3 assistant managers in school or in general managers do most of the mentoring. So you guys may have 2 people you're mentoring. And I don't want it to be, I have to have 2 50-minute conversations at night with my mentees every single night. So I agree with Jennifer. I don't think every night requires a phone call. I don't know. I want to systemize this. So one more comment, and then I think we need to move on because, yeah.
It just became.
I was just gonna ask, we do the. Don't mess with it.
Bothering me.
I like how we do the goals. When we're gonna make 60 phone calls today, we're gonna do this many things. Like, why don't they do that too? They send you a text before their shift that says, "I'm gonna make 10 awesome calls today," and then at the end of the day, they report how many they actually made. Like,
Could it be things like, I'm going to highlight or spotlight 7 kids, and I mean,
Right,
I
have a
want to
couple of
find
different
you know what I'm
things.
saying? I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
have metrics for every level that makes sense, or even every person that makes sense. If they already do that, then maybe it's, I'm actually going to clean my bathroom today instead of telling you to go jump in a lake when you tell me to clean the bathroom.
and by putting goals on there, you're more likely to reach
yeah.
the goal than just from 0 to whatever. It's like, I'm gonna make 10. You're more likely to get 10 if you
Yeah.
have a number before.
Honestly, most of those goals already exist from the instructor's scorecard.
Yeah, so we have an instructor scorecard. We have, you've seen them, much, much, much more detailed job descriptions. And we're going to pull a lot of information. You guys are going to reference the job descriptions. My whole presentation, job descriptions. And I don't know how inspiring it will be. I hope hopefully slightly. But I don't know. I don't know that I have the solution for this one. But I want to work as a team to find the mentor level up, I guess. I don't know. We need we need to improve that situation, because I really think having that person that you can reference and does hold you accountable, like a mentor should, without judgment, is a huge part of what we need for everybody.
And part of this is getting our seniors ready to be that assistant or manager part. So I don't mind them being accountable for holding other people accountable, because that's what we're trying to do.
And that's what we're trying to do, is give everyone those little pieces of management responsibility. Okay, sorry, we got to move on from that one. Is probably the most confusing for me right now. I don't have a good solution. Weekly tactical. Is that an accountability tool?
Yeah.
Do we utilize it as an accountability tool?
That I think is the most effective one because
Okay.
it covers our numbers.
We cover our numbers, we talk about them, and we add issues to the list. I think the 90 situation has made a difference. We're going to keep working on it. Some days we have more effective ones. I think we could be a little more in depth about the adding issues to the list from the numbers instead of just going, oh, what happened? Let's go. You have 0 enrollments, but you had 4 enrollment conferences. We're gonna put that in the issues. We're gonna discuss it. That's, I think, the only change I would make. Do you have any changes you would make? Okay. The daily team meeting. Daily team meetings.
I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like a lot of people, like, we get into a routine and then someone will start the role play, and then because someone's starting that role play, half the people are like, well, I'm not in that role play, and we check out.
This was a different daily team meeting in my mind.
Okay, this is your school daily team meeting, but I want to talk about
Okay,
both.
team meeting. Okay, sorry, my bad.
I want to talk about both because would it be helpful to mix up the format sometimes skip the role play and have a discussion, other times have a very different role play? I don't know. What would it help to spice things up a little bit?
So the more involved I am, the more I'm focused on it, right? So if we had a discussion and we said, here's an issue, this is what we're bringing up, that everyone know, all right, this is what's coming up in my schedule today in this conversation, and we have a conversation about how you do that, then there's more interactive elements and not just like.
So would it be okay in the daily all team meeting to say, hey guys, we haven't gotten the number of enrollments we've been looking for, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the issue, and here's what we're proposing we work on for it. Would that be acceptable in a daily all team meeting with the whole staff?
Can we make it a rap battle?
But it's not even like the whole
It's
staff.
been a
Because it
wheel.
looks
Or-
like we miss half the staff.
Discussion.
Or do we keep the daily all team meeting as just a check-in and a quick role play, and then move into our team daily meetings?
And that's where you would do that part, is talk about we're not, because if you're talking about that on a Zoom meeting, you can't have all 4 schools talking about theirs at the same time.
Okay, and that's
I think that also makes more sense because with the daily all team, we have a lot more staff, and it gives some people the opportunity to kind of derail what we're doing with their own personal agenda or
I agree.
what they want to talk about.
I want the daily all team meeting to just be inspiration and, hey, I'm hearing something new in the role play that I would not have thought of doing. That's the whole point of the role play, right? Is they're hearing, oh, hey, that was an interesting way of doing that enrollment conference. Because you never know what's going to pop back in your head when you're in the middle of that enrollment conference, right? Yeah. But the daily team meeting, are we using it to solve problems currently?
But they all take notes, or
So
we're still on that daily team.
the daily team meeting, your team at your school, where it's 2:00 or whatever. It's Tuesday.
Pass over what appointments are happening, who's
Is that-
Yeah, that's kind of how it
Okay, so should there be a formalized set of elements to that we discuss? Because honestly, if it's like, hey, you guys are having your meeting and it's you two and Hope there, I think that is the most appropriate time to go, guys, we haven't had an enrollment in 6 days. What are we doing? What are we going to do? What is the solution? That's where that meeting is supposed to come in. It's really supposed to be a problem-solving meeting.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, to be honest, we haven't had very many leads come in. Where could we find some new people to bring in? Okay, one, we're going to text Jennifer and say, hey, I haven't had a single Facebook lead in 9 days. Valuable information for her so she can go change the ads. B, we don't have any 2-week courses coming up. What else are we going to do? Crap, maybe this week better be buddy week or whatever, right? Didn't we just do that very conversation? We went, boop, 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 boop. Oh crap, we got to do something. I
Careful, if it's daily, it's really got to stick to 15, 20 minutes. And we can't dive into the weeds for 2 hours.
So let's work on formalizing how the daily team meeting is run. It's supposed to be a level 10. That the whole point is that we go through the headlines and the to-dos and the numbers and then create issues and solve the issues.
So that's a weekly.
Oh, sorry, that's your weekly. Yeah, now I'm mixing 2 meetings.
The daily is just like a 15-minute check-in. Where are we at? What are we going to do? What do we need to fix? So
What's on the schedule?
Not a huge identified.
What can we do tonight to improve the situation?
It's like who made what calls for what reason.
Okay.
Who's the most appropriate to do this conference?
Yeah, what makes most sense? Okay. Ooh, man, I went all over on that one. Okay, KPIs. Do we track them?
Yeah.
Do we report them?
Yes, we're actually good at that.
They are good.
I think you're good at that. I think 9 months ago you weren't very good at that one as a whole. I think over the last 9 months you guys have absolutely leveled up on tracking these. Do they help?
Immensely.
Do you know where you stand, at least numbers wise, at any given time? Okay.
I look at it and I go,
And then what do?
fix it, dang it.
I hope in all these many other things we are creating action plans and pushing ourselves forward. Let's move on.
Numbers scare me when I go, not where they need to be. Good. Work harder.
Okay.
Work harder.
Again, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And I think we are seeing that. I think we're seeing that our systems are improving, but we still have systems to put in place, especially in the improving our team members' abilities to help us hit our numbers. I think we have a lot of really gung-ho, very excited people who don't maybe have clear expectations of what we need from them, and therefore think they're blowing through all of their goals, when in reality, we aren't even maybe doing some of the tasks on a basic daily level that we should. So I want to work on setting expectations, and then this is the key, and this is going to be the word that you hear pop up over and over and over again. Consistency. Whenever you say something to your team members, be consistent with it. Whether it's a promise you make or expectations you set, make sure you are following through on what you say. Along with being a good role model, consistency helps your team members know what to expect from you. For instance, when creating consequences for team members failing to meet their quotas, you need to uphold them to ensure your team members take you seriously. And I don't mean just number quotas, guys, but, if you're a level 3 assistant instructor and someone asks you to clean the bathroom and you give them a bunch of malarkey about how that's beneath you, we need to hold that person accountable for understanding that it is never beneath anybody. And Caleb and Heidi frequently come into karate schools and clean the bathroom. In fact, I'll tell you a secret. I walk in, I check your bathrooms almost every time. I tell you I got to pee when I come to your schools, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think I'm doing?
I know that's exactly what you're doing.
I'm looking to see if your bathrooms are clean every freaking time.
The best bathroom cleaner?
Michael. No.
Caleb Barr.
Yeah.
Dude, he cleans it like twice as shit. I'm like, you rock.
Good.
He's on it.
He vacuums like the
He looked at the fan, he's like, this is gross. And now the fan started working again.
Yeah, because it wasn't fair goo. Hey, I appreciate that. That's the kind of stuff that I just want people to do what they say they're going to do, and I want them to do it for a reasonably long period of time. Is that fair? This is what Mr. Metzger was talking about when he said, you're all babies. No one is here or has been here for 12 years. No one has proven that they're going to do the same thing and they're going to do what they say they're going to do for years on end. And that's a hard, tall order to expect from everybody. But he said, that's the honest truth, is you got to know that your team's going to be there before you promote them to something that further cements the need for them to continually be there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Don't bump them up until you know that their life plan hasn't changed in the last 15 minutes, or their mood or temperament or whatever. So I want to see consistency. And he said, you guys as a whole have very little consistency. You've moved people from place to place, right? You have opened school here and school there and school there, and people have had to adjust and adapt super rapidly. Said it's time for some consistency from you as an owner, from management in our expectations of other people, and from our employees in their performance. Okay? I'm going to tell you right now, Brendan not getting a promotion because there is no consistency. Just never, it's not going to happen. It would need to be a track record of a very long time now because of the way he is with scheduling for me to ever consider moving him anywhere in the company, no matter how good he is at martial arts, no matter how amazing a teacher he is. That is completely lacking. Okay?
I know this is a really hard question to answer, so if you don't have the answer, that's okay.
Let's go. I'm ready. I ate lots of ice cream.
On consistency, I brought this up with some of my team, and then their next question is, well, how long is a long time? And I go, it depends, and that's my best answer.
Yeah. Okay. So this is
I don't
literally
know how
the
to
thing-
answer that question.
This is the thing I've been thinking about probably the most for the last month. What does that even mean? You know, what is enough? How many reps are enough reps to know that someone is really solid at something? Okay, if it's an intro lesson, is 7 intro lessons enough for someone to be just excellent at doing an intro lesson?
7? No.
You have to see everything. by the time
Right? You don't know when someone's going to explosively vomit on the mat in the middle of your intro lesson. You don't know what to do until you've done it once. Sorry. Yeah, like a week ago.
Hope's teaching this.
Hope's teaching this lesson. They go,
She didn't cover her face. She just.
just went for it.
You got to teach them the tuck method, bro.
So,
The Burke method?
so it's really tricky to say this is the right number. But what I would say is, as we're training someone and we do you're going to watch me do 5 or 10 of these, and then you're going to do 10 of them with me, and then you're going to do 10 while I watch you. You may need to go, hey, I'm watching you, and there's some really weird stuff. You got to go back and have them watch 2 or 3 more and go back through the steps. You see what I'm saying? I want to get in people's minds that there is a real possibility that if you're learning a new skill, it may be hundreds of reps before you are actually good at it. You don't let a level 1 just run off and teach the whole class after they've done it 20 times. On their 20th class, you're not like, you've done it 20 times. Bro, the number said 5555. This is number 21. It's all yours. You can't do that. 20 classes is like half a week if they came all week. Would you trust someone to run classes after half a week? Half a month? Half of a block?
6 months.
6 months, maybe. But in the number of reps in teaching a class, how many is 6 months if we teach 40-something classes a week and they're there for 30 of them? Let's say it's 30 a week and they do 20 weeks of that. That's how many classes?
600?
600 classes. But then here we are letting someone do an intro lesson after they've done it 7 times unsupervised. And then we wonder why maybe our enrollment rate is not as high as we could, would maybe like it to be. That's not a consistency yet. And my whole thing goes over like reps and all of this. But I'm just telling you, I want to hold people accountable to being consistent. And that also means not taking the lesson plan and turning it into what you want on the spur of moment because you feel like it. No, I want you to be consistent with what the plan of the company is too, and consistent with what you've discussed with your mentors, your other instructors, etc. You see what I'm saying? This is going to be the word, I think, that I'm really watching. And I don't have a straight answer for you, but if it's running belt testing, how many times do you need to run belt testing before you're reasonably competent to run belt testing? 3 times. I would agree with you. Like you don't need to run 100 belt tests to be able to, or do 100 belt tests to be okay running a belt test, right?
But there's like different factors in there. If you're teaching a class, you're working with people. People there's so many different variables when you're working with people. If you're doing belt testing, a lot of it is numbers.
It's
and
a system.
That's so much easier. But if you're people, there's so much more to it.
I agree. And so since almost everything we do is a people thing, are you really solid at making lead calls after 20 lead calls?
No.
50?
No.
100? You'd probably trust them after they've done 100 to do them, but are you going to still be available to answer questions for that person?
Are they going to be sitting in the office doing something else while they're calling?
You
I've had
probably
customer
are.
service for like 12 years, and there's still random times where I'll be like,
Yo.
oh, that's weird.
And I had no idea what to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think we need to help them understand that it's going to be something like the answer to your questions be when you've been doing it for a month without any intervention from somebody is probably when I'm going to let you check it off your list.
We don't check things off our list.
You're right. Mark it as competent
Yes.
and move it to the other side of your list. Okay? Does that make sense? Like I'm not I hate the bro, I need a list of the 7 things I need to check off in the next week so I can be the next thing. Well, if it's lead calls, like Jennifer said, do you get to check lead calls off as I've just nailed it and I've mastered it and every lead call I do is going to be perfection? That never freaking happens because you're going to get the weirdo that you were never expecting. It's going to blow your mind 6 years later. So it's just a constant improvement thing, guys. So I don't expect you to have mastered something even after 3 years. That's probably not the case. But I expect there to be a level of competency where we go, okay, you are trustable with this. You have been consistently doing this with good results. Your metrics show, i.e., if you're making lead calls and you get a hold of 7 people, well, I would like you to schedule 4 or 5 of those to come do something. Is that an unreasonable expectation?
Honestly, 98% of the time someone answers the phone for leads, we get an appointment set.
And so if they're calling and they're only getting 3 out of 6 or 3 out of 9, are they at the level at which we get to move that to the other column? No. So I'm just worried that it's like I give you a list of things and then it's like, okay, I did this 6 times, I did this 12 times, I did this 4 times, I did this 9, I'm done. You owe me being senior level 3. You owe me. I've done it. I've checked the list. I don't think that's how that works. That's like saying you're done practicing front kicks for the rest of time because you got your yellow belt. Well, for that, sorry. You all laugh because it's the same thing. Can your classes be better?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if anyone says otherwise, I'm going to be really frustrated. So I'm just saying, like, I just want to see you consistently trying to improve everything that you do. And at some point, your mentor will go, hey, I haven't had to say one word about their lead calls. I would consider them very competent at doing lead calls. I'm good calling that one like achieved. Let's find the next thing to work on. But you're not going to get to go, okay, I have already mastered lead calls. I am no longer required to do lead calls because I am a master of lead calls. That's not how that works. And that's what we're getting. We're getting that from people, guys.
But I know we're recording. We'll ask later.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. There's my rant. You're going to get that one 3 more times this weekend. You know this. We've talked about this. Can you lead someone if you're not able to do the thing you need them to do? No. It's very difficult. And you're experiencing this. You are totally comfortable in the office. You've had a lot of reps. You were in Kaysville. You've done it a bunch. You moved to Clinton. You've done it even more. But there is friction between you and Caden because he clearly knows more about the martial arts than you do. And yet we still need to have this manager and managee relationship. And so it's something that we're working on overcoming. Are you actively working on those things though? Are you putting yourself out there first?
Yeah.
That's what I expect. It would be a problem if it was something that you can't do, don't want to do, and refuse to do, right? That would be different. Mm-hmm. Now the window mirror principle, how well are we doing on praising the team? When things go, I think you guys are fantastic at this one. I think you guys honestly actively work to spotlight and highlight your team's successes. I am really proud of this. How about the mirror part of it? How are we doing on this part? I struggle with this one. I want to find a problem because I think subconsciously if I find a problem, then I'm like, okay, that's the reason why this didn't happen. Or you're the reason. That is something I would like to pretend I'm pretty good at, but I don't know that I'm necessarily good at the mirror part.
What is the mirror part?
This is when there is a problem, who do you look at to find the solution? Yourself first. How am I failing? How am I failing to get this done? So I think you guys are fantastic at the window. I personally am not probably as good as I should be at the mirror and owning when things go wrong.
The mirror sucks sometimes.
The mirror does suck, but of the two, which is more important, do you think? I don't know.
Right now, mirror.
Whichever one we're not.
We're talking about accountability, so
Yeah.
the
What about
mirror
a window
probably.
mirror, see through and
Okay, so final tips, and honestly, this is a conversation that will be ongoing and be kind of the theme of all of the management training for the next several months as we work on systemizing our whole team becoming more accountable and moving more quickly by taking things more slowly. I know that doesn't make any sense, but you'll get that one multiple times too. Okay, acknowledging your own mistakes. Even as leader, you may make the occasional error. Set a good example by admitting your faults and finding a way to fix them. Let's all work on this one. Show good examples. If you notice one of your team members did exceptional work, ask them if you can show it to the rest of the team. Having clear examples of good work may inspire the rest of your team to put in more effort. I didn't know Taylor was amazing at cleaning the bathrooms. I would have bought him a gift card to give to him today, because that is something I absolutely want to reward, because we are actively having a problem with people thinking it is beneath them to clean the bathroom, which I am furious about, because I set that expectation very first, that it is the first damn thing on the job description.
Is it anyone from Kaysville I need to jump on?
No, we'll talk. Okay.
My bathrooms are clean. I'm a clean freak.
Treat everyone equally. Consistently enforcing your expectations for everyone can help you create a system free of favoritism or office politics. Show all of your team members respect, but also hold them all accountable for their actions. I am sure that I don't see things, and therefore accidentally don't enforce expectations as good as possible, because I am not as present as I would like to be. I don't know that there's any glaring problems with this, but I think it's just something we can all be mindful of, that if one level one does a thing and another level one does the thing, you need to yell at both of them for doing the thing, right? It's just, we got to be fair across the board. Motivate your team. Employees who feel motivated may be more likely to get their work done. Creating a reward system, giving praise, and offering career advancement opportunities may all be useful incentives. I hope the career advancement path makes more sense to everyone and is more attainable after we have the conversations this weekend about the pathways to success. Okay, I am much happier about the more numerous but smaller steps up in responsibility that will be attainable for you guys. Okay, but I thought we created a really exciting reward system with the end of shift reports and the calls,
end of shift report.
and I don't know why it's so hard to get buy-in from the younger team members. So I would like to work on that too, because I would have killed for $40 extra a paycheck every single 2 weeks, and realized that could be thousands of dollars in a year. I would have murdered that one. And I would have got so many reps in doing calls that every new call would have just been a new exciting way to dive in and crush what I wanted to do.
I think it would be fun to bring up to the team members, not only do they get paid, but whatever school does the best on their recorded metrics that month. This is motivation for me personally. Gets to go, the entire team gets to go to lunch. And we don't just buy pizza and throw dodgeballs at each other, but we
Go to lunch, sit down.
and we go to dinner.
Hey, I'd be okay with that. You have 7 team members, you have 4. If your 4 report a higher percentage than those 7, your 4 get to go to lunch. I actually like that.
Because I bought the entire Bountiful crew lunch one time, and that was one of the best months that we had, because we were all
fired up.
It was food from Fat Fish. It was delicious, but it wasn't
$1,000.
it wasn't crazy.
No.
And honestly,
I actually like that idea. Someone write that down. Put it in
I'm
Spark
very
or
motivated
something.
by food, but if we could figure out what that thing was for our team members,
I would. You
something
know what?
that's
We
not-
should have a metrics contest. I
was gonna
really,
say.
really like that. A reporting of metrics. I don't necessarily care that your numbers are better than the other schools. I care that you reported your numbers better than the other school.
What about those that go to multiple different schools? where do they?
Each person gets claimed.
Well, here's the thing.
Well,
they get tracked at both. So it behooves them to do their job at either because they have two opportunities to win. I don't think that hurts anything.
You could bribe one not to report at one school.
I mean, no, I don't
Get
think
extra
there's
$1,000.
ever any point where anyone knows that other instructors are doing their awesome calls.
I do.
So like, no, I mean like for example, Hannah, she would have no idea how many like Seth did because we don't talk about it. It's never brought up. And so it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, no one.
You bring up a really valid point. I've tried to make the numbers of the business way less a mystery than when I had one head instructor. I was like, oh my gosh, can I tell them that we made $10,000 a month this month, or are they going to want to be paid $10,000 this month? Well, you laugh, but I think you're right. I don't think we have maybe pulled back the wrapper on all of the numbers, and maybe people don't understand. Hey, that person made 27 awesome calls this week. You made one, dude. You made one. I don't mind that.
Yeah, we have on our Monday meeting at our 3:15 meeting, we call it Metric Monday. And I will print off their end of shift report, like spreadsheet thing. I'll be like, Michael made 57 awesome calls. You made 2. This person made this. And I was like, guess what? Michael made $50 extra on his paycheck. Tanner made this much on his paycheck. You made 20 cents on your paycheck.
I think that'd be
extra.
a very effective way to use your team meeting as an accountability tool. I actually really like that. Letting them know what's going on. If someone made 10x the number I did, I'd lose my mind. I would lose my mind.
Competitive anyway.
I actually really like that. That's it. Did you take notes now? That's good. Okay. Be firm. While you might develop relationships with each of your team member, you need to remember that you are their manager. If you notice they aren't meeting your expectations, you need to address this rather than letting it go. It doesn't matter if you're friends. That doesn't help. Be friendly, not friends. Be able to be direct. Be able to have the right relationship of a coach, relationship of a manager.
I almost have an easier time yelling at my friends.
And that's fine as long as that's where friendship goes, because it has gone the other way in the past. As long as you know and you have an understanding that if you're not pulling your weight, someone's going to say something in the friend group, fine. But if it becomes this, oh man, I don't know, if I tell them they're going to be sad, and so I'm just going to not.
I don't make friends with those guys. I'm going to be very direct.
I'm more direct with my friends too. I had to chew Rob out for burning a hole in my shop. So, I get it, but if the conversation needs to happen, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. So I'm usually pretty nice.
Yeah.
None of you have seen me really mad yet.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Thoughtfully delegate work. When employees get work they're interested in, they'd be more likely to stay focused and meet their goals. That's why it's important to consider your employees' strengths and current responsibilities when assigning new tasks. I want to talk about this one for a minute. What are your thoughts on this one?
What's right in front of you? Dude, Michael absolutely loves teaching the school courses because if he does a good job, he magically gets paid like an extra $100 on that paycheck. And he's very motivated to go and do all the things that he needs to do, teaching an amazing class. And he's willing to put in that extra effort because, you get $100. That's pretty nice, right? Or Ashlyn is really good at the phone calls. I know she's repping it over there, really good at the phone calls. And she goes out there and crushes it. But no offense, she couldn't really write an email very good right now. So we have Daniel write the emails. And Daniel loves the grind, so he'll sit there and type up the email until it sounds really good and he really likes it instead of just being like, I finished it, done, send, right? And he puts some thought behind it and making sure that everyone is motivated to do their work by assigning, like you said, something that they enjoy doing. Like, I don't like writing emails.
I get it.
He writes emails. I love calling people on the phone. It's my favorite. I'll be like, hey, how you doing today? And they're like, good, how you doing? And I'm like, so wonderful. I can barely stand it. And people laugh at me all the time. And then the conversation goes great because they weren't expecting me to say that. And then they've got a smile on their face and we go for it. And playing to your strengths, I think, is very important. And if you can help your team do that, I don't know, it's easier to be accountable on things that you enjoy.
I agree. Does that make sense? This is one of those things, like, we need to find what people are good at. We need to be effective. Now, that doesn't mean they get to avoid things like cleaning the bathroom just because they don't enjoy it or it's not.
What happened to the bathroom?
Not important.
It sounds.
I will be.
I'm focused.
Okay, so I think this is one of those, as best as you can, give people opportunities to do what they like. But there are things that everyone is going to get to do that may or may not be their favorite, magical, most wonderful
You have
thing.
to do the suck sometimes.
Okay, sometimes you have to embrace the suck, but it's okay to tell them that, that, hey, I know this isn't your favorite thing. We got to get this done. Please help me get it done quickly so we can both be out of here. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, that's a huge part of the grind, though.
It's a huge part of life.
You like that part.
And that's okay. But you know what? That's the way Mr. Metzger phrased the entire conversation we had. Is I'm worried that some of your team members do not know how to grind. That life is grind. That life is doing things that you don't necessarily love on a daily basis because you know that they have an impact. Whether that's wiping down the windows or cleaning the toilet or making phone calls that you don't like or teaching little ninjas because it's, harder than some of the other, whatever it is, embracing the grind is part of every career path on the planet. You may love being an ER doctor, but guess what you still have to do at the end of the night? Fill out your freaking reports after all your patients. Do you like doing it? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. It doesn't matter. You have to do it. You may be a nurse because you want to help people, but a nurse spends 70% of her time taking notes. It's just part of the job. There's suck or grind, whatever you want to call it, in every job, and embracing that is okay. And so thoughtfully delegating the work doesn't just mean giving people things they like to do. I think that's a huge part of it. But there's also delegating hard things to people so that they get better, both as a human being and as an employee in their skill level. Does that make sense? Like sometimes sucks to suck, you get to do it, when it's tax season, don't love it. Not my favorite. It is a arm wrestling contest that we go back and forth where I argue with Jennifer, I argue with my bookkeeper, Jennifer argues with the bookkeeper argues with the accountant, I argue with all three of them, etc. Okay, we have lively debates about.
I don't think arguing is bad.
And it's not a I go to TurboTax, guys, and poof, a number appears on the bottom of a page. It is a 2 month, we've spent about 2 months this year doing this thing. I don't like it. But can I thoughtfully delegate that work to anybody else? So who gets delegated that work? A whole committee of people.
Jennifer,
Yeah, Jennifer gets some of the minutia because she's way better at numbers than I am. So I want you to thoughtfully delegate stuff about not just what they're good at, but what is going to be best for them and best for the company too. Okay, please keep that in mind. Questions about holding employees accountable?
I'm very excited for this one.
We are maximizing accountability. This is what everything is going to be about. Accountability and consistently being accountable.
Yes.
Okay?
Consistency.
Consistency. Reps. Okay?
Repertoire.
Okay. Thank you guys.